All right, Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The current date is Saturday, March 20th, 2021. It is currently 3:54 p.m. And I remain at third-party facilitating venue where federal group stalking and monitoring with communication devices by the state of California that is monitoring and group stalking in concert with the people of the state who are maintaining presence in the path. They're group stalking at Economy Inn located at 2301 South Euclid Avenue in the city of Ontario, 91762. And I want to be clear, systematic monitoring as the people of the state are maintaining perpetual presence as they are in relevant position, either at any business property, understand the nearby mobile gas station, the residential properties on the opposite side of the brick wall, the grocery stores on the opposite side, speaking to what is grocery outlet, for example, in that parking lot plaza. The Food for Less, which is across the street, that entire business plaza. This is called relevant positioning, and it does expand beyond what's just across the street. I'm just speaking to the pattern of conduct of federal group stalking and monitoring. The public entity, the state of California, is monitoring me with communication devices as I remain inside of what is a private space, which is the room at Economy Inn. And I want to speak to what was another example of what is activity creation while the state is stalking, maintaining presence, and literally engaged in what is constructive presence inside of the room. The state is engaging in all manner of what is, under any other circumstances, it would be a criminal trespass. But this is the government that is invading in every way that it can with light. It's directed light, and that is for purposes of monitoring. And the state's fake sun, again, these are all hallmarks. The state's fake sun remains over the venue. The state is amplifying audible activity. And so what you have with regard to the people of the state of California as they are maintaining presence both on the property and around the property in relevant position, while, mind you, the state is stalking by police, fire, and ambulance who also remain in relevant position around the perimeter at all times and on the property where I am in direct close quarters, as I've also documented, and is the pattern of conduct of stalking by the entity. You have what is the state also stalking, remaining over me in relevant position in planes and helicopters, all of which has been documented, and that is what is ongoing at 2301 South Euclid Avenue. This is Economy Inn. This is a third-party innkeeper engaged in the pattern of conduct of monitoring an American citizen and facilitating that criminal system, which is also sexually violent conduct, while the entity directly and vicariously are engaged in corporate invasion of privacy. And this is how you are creating activity with simultaneity to that which the entity is aware that I'm doing inside of a private space as I am doing it. And this is also how you are targeting the location of that activity creation inside of the private space, which is the room that I remain inside of at Economy Inn. And this is the behavioral pattern. Irrespective of where I am, I'm speaking to what is the ongoing pattern of conduct as I remain at this third-party facilitating venue, Economy Inn. And what I want to document is with regard to what is activity creation, I've documented an example of this just the other day, and I've also documented this is not new. I just want to speak to what is my ongoing presence at this venue, which is armed with surveillance cameras. This is literally the entity being documented systematically. Those surveillance cameras are a means of documentation, and understand everyone coming on the property, everyone remaining on the property, everyone for whatever purpose that they are present. It is actually legally irrelevant. They are creating activity. They are present while the state is creating and amplifying activity. And they are present while the state is creating activity. And what I want to speak to is what occurred again at 3:50 p.m. I just documented this on video as the state engaged in the same method of activity creation, which is literally the creation of what is an earthquake, and I put that in air quotes. The entire room, the bed, the ground is shaking violently, and this lasts for about 3 to 4 seconds, and then it stops. That's activity creation that is specifically referred to as sensational activity. And not only is this activity creation under what is the state's fake sun, which is remaining over this parking lot, all right, which is also while the state is directing light inside of this room and onto the surfaces all around this room, while the state is amplifying audible activity. So literally creating noise in the room, through the walls, through the ceilings, everywhere as I move, as I've shown in the bathroom, as I've shown as I'm at the vanity, as I've shown while I'm on the bed, and the state is engaging and using the television, which it did just right now, turning the screen off while the psychopath is listening to me document its criminal conduct. Understand, this is the presence, the constructive presence of the entity. And what I want to explore is that this is what the people of the state of California shall be prosecuted for. They are facilitating the government's ability to do so. They are monitoring while the state is creating what is an earthquake occurring in my room as I am in the process of what is, excuse me, the manipulation of my hair at the moment that I finish what I'm doing. So as I engage in what is the change of activity, that's the behavioral pattern. As I finish doing what I was engaged in for a prolonged period, you have what is all of a sudden an earthquake. This is activity creation, sensational activity occurring with simultaneity to what I am doing. And this is another method of activity creation. While the state is present in all of those hallmarks that I've demonstrated, and while the state is, that is nothing but another method of activity creation. The people of the state of California remain in relevant position, are monitoring while these incredible occurrences are present. And I want to be clear, not only is my podcast speaking to what is the exposure of the stalking conduct of a government that is monitoring an American citizen, it is also that which is doing so in concert with the people of that state. And this is psychopath conduct shared by a group, okay? It is also demonic activity. This is that which is occurring with regard to what I'm focusing on here is the activity creation. And this is, understand, necessarily pursuant to corporate invasion of privacy. The group stalkers that are in the rooms all around me, the group stalkers that enter the parking lot as I exit my room and begin taping, the group stalkers that come out of nowhere as I step out of my room for a second to stand outside, they're not engaging in ignorant conduct or coincidental conduct. That's group stalking, and it is pursuant to the ongoing surveillance that the people of the state of California are engaged in. Psychopaths, sex offenders, okay, that are engaging in also creating activity while I'm inside of the private space. And the state is the one that's engaged in this level of activity creation when you're creating an earthquake, because that's exactly what it was. But I put that in air quotes. This is the state creating that activity. This is not an actual earthquake. And also the same thing that I captured in video while the group stalkers outside of the room, while the fake sun was directly over over the roof above my room. And I came out and I was speaking to what was the creation of an earthquake. And I stepped outside and captured video. This is days later. This is not a series of earthquakes. This is the state creating sensational activity. The state does the same thing, for example, with the train. All right, where it's supposed to be under the guise of the train causing everything to vibrate and shake, and it is not. It's sensational activity. While the state is amplifying the sound of the train, the state does the same thing, for example, as I'm sleeping outside at the Museum of Ontario, the Ontario Museum of History and Arts, and the people of the state, the group stalkers patrolling on Euclid Avenue, are driving past, and the state engages in shaking the ground, which is impossible to occur. You are not causing that vibration of the ground from Euclid Avenue onto the grounds of the museum, but understand that it is a means of activity. It's concerted conduct, in other words, and the state's activity of this sensational activity, understand the people of the state are engaged in concerted conduct in that regard as well. The state is constructively present. The ongoing amplification of what you're consistently hearing, loud cars, and understand the volume doesn't change. It's literally the state maintaining an ongoing chorus of noise, which is directed inside of this room, while the group stalkers, that is the people of the state who I have systematically documented, are monitoring with communication devices. The state's ongoing hallmarks remain present here. The state continues to stalk via aircraft flying directly over and around this room with ongoing knowledge, with simultaneity to what I am doing as I am doing it 24 hours a day inside of this room, which is monitoring conduct. It is also ongoing surveillance. It is pursuant to monitoring in a private space. That is sexual violence, by the way, while they're also doing so while I'm physically indisposed in the shower or on the toilet, while they're listening to everything that I am doing. And if I make any sudden moves, any quote unquote new moves, any unexpected moves, activity creation occurs. Even so, this demented and sex offender, the psychopath, engages in creating activity regularly while inside of that private space. The state is also engaged in activity creation by amplifying what is abrupt sounds. It just comes out of the blue. It's another method of activity creation. You hear, and this is the same, let me be clear before I describe it, the same activity creation method used in every public restroom that I go to, including, which is not a public restroom, it is while I was abducted, kidnapped inside of the jail, which is also that which is not naturally occurring. The state is amplifying and or literally literally just playing a tape of audible activity of what is water floods. It sounds like a flood of water coming through the walls, and it is literally sounding loud enough as though it is on a microphone. It is abnormal audible activity. It is occurring pursuant to the same behavioral pattern, stalking with audible noise, which is how you monitor with communication devices, targeted in the location where it is occurring. And it is also that which is not pursuant to what's actually occurring around. This is the state surrounding with audible activity with noise. This is the state that is also, while it is creating this this is just nothing but another method of audible activity, while the state is stalking with light, okay? And while the state is stalking by entity. This is P.O.C. at Economy N, and I want to be clear and reiterate, this is another method of activity creation. This property has cameras on the grounds, and understand you're looking at what is federal group stalking and monitoring. All of them are systematically monitoring, while the state, as I am showing on my documentation, this is the provision of what is context. And this is that which is occurring everywhere that I go, and it is the absence of coincidence. They are psychopaths who are engaging in what is visual presence on these surveillance cameras, which is nothing but proof of engagement in the state's pattern of conduct. That's exactly what it is. And I am providing ongoing insight as to what the state is doing bit by bit and the methods that it is employing while it is monitoring and stalking. And these psychopath, sex offending group stalkers who are monitoring with it, that is the people of the state of California. And I want to be clear, as I have documented over 2 years, the people of the state of California, specifically identifying those who are of the single group, because it's one group. They're all part of the same ongoing criminal act, all right? And this is the significance of that, okay? It is currently 4:05 p.m., and that is P.O.C. All right, Erica Lorraine Spencer here. This is just a follow-up on video that I've already published to the Google Share Drive with regard to documentation of what is activity creation, which is on a ceaseless basis as the state is engaged in surveillance and monitoring. And so when you're monitoring, you're keeping up what is activity, and that is going to be noise while the state is maintaining light. As I've shown the environment, the state is stalking with its fake sun and keeping directed light on the surfaces around, and while the psychopath, that is the government acting directly, literally remaining present in vehicles and planes, knocking on, or not necessarily knocking, but amplifying the sound of what is knocking on the ceiling, knocking on walls, where there is, for example, knocking coming from the vanity area where there is no room on the opposite side of the wall, but also understand, even if there was a room on the opposite side of the wall, this is conduct which is very abnormal. And so under ordinary circumstances, in a hotel especially, you're not going to have people that are knocking on the wall on the opposite side of the bathroom mirror, for example. This is blatant it's demented conduct just to engage in that. When you sit down and think about what the state is doing, it is entirely demented. Okay, they're a bunch of sickos. They're weirdos. They're stalking because they're monitoring. And they're literally stalking with noise. So when you think about what stalking is, what is stalking? Stalking is following someone, following them around, remaining where they are. And when you're group stalking, you're doing that. That's exactly what you're doing, and you're doing it also conspicuously, because the system of group stalking is premised on the fact that you are maintaining presence in the path, and you're doing so as a stranger to the target individual, or even as someone that the target individual knows, but they don't know that they're being monitored. So while you are there, in any capacity, you are maintaining presence in the path on behalf of the state that is monitoring. You're monitoring with communication devices, and you are group stalking. You're intentionally present. You are intentionally maintaining the environment for purposes of monitoring that individual, the targeted individual. And so inside of this room, what I want to be clear, I captured on video as an example of what the state is engaged on a ceaseless basis. And this is going to the particular venue, the people of the state, specifically Economy N, which shall be subject to its own levels of prosecution on many different documented levels. So with regard to what is ongoing harassment, understand the P.O.C, as I have designed what is policy to prosecute the public entity that's monitoring, the pattern of conduct itself is harassment. Okay, you're stalking with light. You're always touching with light. You're literally sitting around slamming whatever you can as you are listening to invading privacy. In other words, you are sitting around listening to someone breathe and move and monitor on their phone. So as you're engaging in activity, you're a psychopath that's sitting in the parking lot of Economy Inn, slamming your trunk, slamming your car door, while you know that the state is amplifying that sound. So it sounds like you're right outside of the door of the room that I'm in on the second floor, slamming a car door. That's amplification. Everything is louder than it actually is in reality, than it ordinarily would be. That's a psychopath. That's a weirdo. That's a stalker. All right. That's monitoring conduct. While the state is amplifying the sound of what is knocking on behind the mirror, there's no rooms on the opposite side of this motel. All right. But I'm only saying that because that is sound coming from literally the state is creating this noise because I am on the second floor as well. So that is also impossible audible activity because other than the freaks that are underneath my room and understand they're monitoring, the room underneath, that is 127, the room to the left and right of me, that will be 126, and then on the opposite side 128, and then 226 and 228. Understand that those are areas surrounding the space where I'm at, and just like when I am inside of the cell inside of West Valley, for example, or the state, as I demonstrated on video, while I'm subject to monitoring and being kidnapped, being kept there, I was documenting the entire time on the surveillance cameras, pointing to what the state was doing, the significance with regard to the ceaseless engagement in the criminal elements of monitoring. And the state was, meaning the deputies, the medical workers, the inmates, they were engaging in ongoing monitoring. And how were they doing so? The state was amplifying every single sound that they were intentionally making, and they concentrated their activity around my cell. So the cell directly above me, this inmate got attention all the time. And when they're talking, understand this is amplified audible activity. I can hear the intercom inside of my cell as they used it for a means of ceaseless beeping, which is loudly heard inside of my cell. You're talking about bulletproof glass, thick, solid metal. You're talking about insulated, thick painted brick and concrete. And this is not the way that these cells are built. The state is amplifying it. The state is targeting this audible activity that the people of the state, in the capacity of what our inmates in this facility, are all monitoring, okay? And let's be clear, the state's directed light inside of the venue, and the state is amplifying the sound of plane and helicopter activity. Just to be clear, it is the pattern of conduct, and this is the same behavioral pattern what is inside of the facilitating venue of the jail, okay? And so this is everything that I'm pointing to is amplification. It is directed light. It is the state stalking. It's the same conduct in another venue, all right? You're literally looking at conduct. You're only looking at where is the address, okay? It's the same thing with the psychopath, sex offending group stalkers. It's the conduct. It's just a different face. They are psychopaths engaged in the identical behavioral pattern, all right? Acting on behalf of the state. They are sitting in their parking lots. And provided these surveillance cameras in operation on this venue, because this venue does have cameras placed on the building. And so those cameras, assuming that they are in operation, you are looking at what are group stalkers sitting around in their car, standing around in their car. I've even captured them on video, sitting around in their car. You're looking at what is maintenance of presence in the path while they are in real time aware and listening and concentrating on what I'm doing. They make their moves based on what they're listening to me do. They arrive, they leave, they open a car door, they slam a trunk, they get in and out of their car based on what they're doing. They're engaging in creating activity, which the state is amplifying. So they're not just closing their car door. They're not just reversing out of a parking lot space. Look at where they are positioned, all right, and you look at what is also being created as they're engaging it. It's light activity in relevant position. Whatever you're looking at on camera, understand the state is amplifying that activity. They are aware of that. It's intentional activity creation. And then what you are also looking at is also combined with what I am continuously documenting with regard to the abnormal environment. All right. This is not a normal environment. This is that which is in every way created for the purposes of monitoring. So this is why you have what is literally the sound of vehicles. far from the 60 freeway. Okay, you're not going to hear the freeway inside of the room. And also understand, this is also a venue. This is common sense. Okay, you've got an innkeeper. This is a business here. He's providing hotel rooms for a rate. You are not getting a rate for a room where it sounds like you're sleeping outside of the freeway, and that's what it sounds like in the room. Okay, that's amplification, where it sounds like they are driving their cars right outside of the front door. That's the amplification of audible activity. All right, and where it sounds like there's third parties that are intentionally revving their engine. This is demonic activity. This is monitoring. That's all they're doing as they are maintaining presence where I am. Okay, at 2:08 a.m. right now, the television is being controlled. They're turning on the menu on the screen. Understand the television is not operating itself. That's remote control as I'm moving my hands and I'm speaking. That's a creation of light activity as you're changing the screen, by the way. That's also visible activity that is pursuant to corporate invasion of privacy, the state that's engaged in monitoring. All right. These group stalkers that you see standing around, smoking outside, standing outside of their car, coming in and out of rooms, riding their bikes in the parking lot, at the window of the economy in, they're maintaining relevant position. They're keeping presence in the path. The state is monitoring on a 24-hour basis. And so, in other words, what I am telling you is that there is nothing that the surveillance cameras are showing, and there is nothing that is occurring on this property that is unrelated to what is federal group stalking and monitoring, because that is all that they are doing. And the entirety of that environment is what's demonstrating it. And so what I want to speak to, I was given the example of West Valley Detention Center because it is a quintessential picture of how the state engages in group stalking in any sort of residential setup, such as an apartment building or a hotel building, where you have the room, even if I'm on the first floor, it's the room directly above me, the rooms to the right and to the left on the first and second floor, or however many floor levels. The state targets audible activity around, while group stalkers in those spaces around, they are literally stalking, they're stalking while they're in that space. They are not present in their individual capacity. Not only are they monitoring, engaging in the behavioral pattern, which is the absence of coincidence that speaks to intent. All right. You're not hitting the wall at the same time that I happen to be engaged in a new activity, which is the behavioral pattern. All right. That's the P.O.C. for group stalking. All right. Intentional activity creation while you are in the path, which is how you monitor with communication devices, which is what the state does directly and vicariously. The people of the state engaging in the same behavioral pattern that the state does by plane and helicopter, sirens, by police and emergency services, the ambulance and fire vehicles. The people of the state engaging in that same identical behavioral pattern. And so what you have inside of this room is ongoing activity creation. Noises coming from what sounds like underneath the room. I'm on the second floor. So that would require somebody hitting the ceiling, someone hitting the walls. It is more likely that, and I'm not putting it past, because these are psychopaths. They're sick individuals that are acting corporately to monitor American citizens who, by the way, are listening to every word that's being gathered and published about their criminal conduct, especially as I identify them by name, image, address, license plate, or company that they're affiliated with or doing business on behalf of, which is monitoring an American citizen. They are those worthy of straitjackets, and that's not an exaggeration. This is speaking to context that's going toward punishment. And so I'm not removing that as a possibility, but it is more likely that they are sitting around hitting objects, slamming a cabinet door, for example. The state is amplifying that sound, and it sounds as though it is coming from, as the state is targeting that audible activity. All the state has to do is provide a microphone. You're talking about a government that's dragging around a fake sun to keep it over my head, over directly where I'm at all day long. The state is acting in concert with these stalkers, all right, who are engaged in corporate invasion of privacy, standing outside of my room in the door. Understand they're stalking and they're listening to me. They're not just standing outside smoking a cigarette. They're not outside chatting and concerned about each other. They're monitoring, all right? And that's exactly what I showed in my video at 5 p.m., that the housekeeper, whose image I have already shown, she's been published in a plethora of videos, in addition to the owners. Their identities are no secret. Who they are and what is ongoing at Economy Inn has already been fully exposed, okay? It is ongoing right now. So today what I captured was a video of the housekeepers stalking, just standing in front of my door, posted, okay? Standing in front of my door, and understand what they're doing as housekeepers. That's exactly what the quote unquote patrons are doing, standing outside, drinking a beer, while they got a beer in their hand, or while they got a cigarette in their hand, or while they got a phone in their hand, or while they got a baby in there, whatever they got in their hand, or doing nothing, just standing around with a dog, whatever it is it looks like they're doing all they are doing is monitoring. They're maintaining presence. They're group stalking. Understand the doors, the ceilings, the walls, the floors are no obstruction for what is monitoring with communication devices. And these stalkers are doing so as they are listening. They know what I'm doing when I'm doing it. So with regard to any form of documentation that is showing the images of these stalkers as they surround, you need to understand what you're looking at. I'm going to provide you the context because it's married to the audible activity. And it is also directly informed by what I am doing as they are stalking, present on behalf of the state. And that is every single last one of them, okay? Irrespective of the duration of time they spend on the property, and irrespective of their identity or their outward appearance of what it appears as though they are engaged in. They're present under all the same environments. You literally have what is a psychopath stalker coming up with different reasons of moment by moment to come onto the grounds. That's all they're doing. That's a psychopath stalker. That's what the state of California is doing. I understand it as much of a weirdo as each and every one of these individuals that are engaged in this state system. It's satanic. And you need to be clear. Understand that which is of Satan, that which is coming straight out of hell it is thoroughly demented. And these are weirdos who walk around with smiles on their faces and try to conduct themselves as though, first of all, that they're doing something else other than what is nothing other than engagement in the criminal elements of monitoring, which is ceaseless, and this is already established. You can smile and engage in conversation and smoke your cigarette and act like you're here delivering a package or doing housekeeping all you want. You're doing it under a fake sun. You're doing it under light conditions which are totally abnormal. That's called directed light. You're doing it while what is literally a microphone applied to everything that is occurring. That's monitoring, all right? And that's what psychopaths do, by the way, all right? They try to mask what is actually the criminal conduct, the sick and demented and twisted conduct that they're engaged in. That's the pattern of conduct. The government is in here, in this room, constructively present. Understand the government is in your private space, is maintaining presence wherever you are, and understand this is with regard to, for example, the target individual in your home and in the hotel room, wherever it is that you maintain a reasonable expectation of privacy. But it's my position that the government has no business whatsoever following you around everywhere, even if you're in public. There is no right to it whatsoever. This is an unprecedented level of stalking because of the actor, the identity of the actor, and the concerted conduct with the people of the state. So this is rising above that which is ordinarily addressed by law. So yes, it is informed by ordinary policy, but it is also that which is entirely unprecedented because it is the government that is acting. And so I want to be clear on that. And I want to speak to what is the ongoing presence of the government inside of what is the private space inside of this room. The state is present, engaged in what is a trespass, constructive presence, maintenance of presence, while it is stalking with light, invading in every way, in every crevice, at every area that it can, as I have already shown, both last year, September 2020, and ongoing now. The state is present with this light, all of the light, which is speaking to what the psychopaths are doing. While they're outside of my room, as I get on Wi-Fi. That's not a coincidence. I'm on the internet. They're aware of that. And so all of a sudden you hear their voices. They're always listening and maintaining presence, either sitting in their cars, sitting around their cars in the parking lot, slamming their car door, and it sounds very loudly in the room. Okay. And so understand you got a sample of that last night, where you heard what is a group stalker, an employee of Economy Inn, heavily documented and engaged in P.O.C. before, and that was P.O.C. last night, as she's referencing what is an excuse to create activity in my room, standing in relevant position while the state is directing light, and it is under the guise of, as I asked a third-party group stalker who was in relevant position, while what is the use of a cell phone is playing music, and it is exceptionally loud. And so I am asking common sense, Okay, and this is dealing with these psychopaths in their alternate universe. They're all monitoring, and I know this when I'm asking a group stalker to please not play loud music on your phone in front of my door. If you play your phone, whatever, can you not stand in front of my door while you're doing it? Even though I already know that they're monitoring. I already know that it's amplified audible activity. But you have to understand when you are dealing with they are psychopaths. All right, they are out of their minds. When you are sitting around in your car or stalking an absolute stranger, you're a stranger to me, I don't know you, and you are fully engaged in monitoring with the government. You are stalking, you are monitoring, you are fully concerned about me. This is already established. And that is an entire weirdo, okay? And sitting around knocking, slamming doors while you're listening to what I'm doing in a room all day long. And that is what the state has been doing. And this is what the state does on a continuous basis. But this is going toward economy in. This is going toward what is ongoing harassment. And so my first point is that the use of what are the group stalkers around the room. The state acts in concert with the people of the state. Economy in can empty out the rooms around me all they want. Understand that's very unlikely to happen. The state depends on third-party group stalkers. But secondly, understand you're talking about the government that is fully engaged in amplifying activity. You do not have to be in front of my door in order for it to sound like you're in front of my door. That's what the state does, okay? And so, or inside of the room for that matter. That's why these psychopaths, beings, their images being seen, they're not just closing their car door. You're looking at what's stalking. They're maintaining presence in the path while they're closing their car doors, which is amplified audible activity. So understand what group stalking is. Understand what the monitoring conduct is. You're looking at what is audible activity creation while they are in relevant position, which is concerted conduct while the state is amplifying that activity that they're creating. With knowledge of what I am doing, not only are they in the path and they're creating activity, they're engaging in invasion of privacy. They know what I'm doing. And that's at the moment that they're closing that car door or that they are pulling up in that parking spot in alignment to my room, or that they are patrolling in and out, walking past my room, standing in front of my room, or closing a door. You're looking at what they're doing and where they're doing it, and understand what you are looking at is married to the audible activity, and it is also what you can't see is the fact that while they are present and creating this activity, engaged in whatever it is that they are that you are visually observing them doing, they're doing it while they are aware of what I'm doing at that moment. Okay, and so this is what is informing everything that is visually seen on the grounds, everything, okay? And that is while the entirety of that environment is also facilitating that ongoing criminal activity, okay? They're doing it under the fake sun. They're doing it with real-time knowledge as they are all corporately listening to me. They're doing it while the state is stalking by plane and helicopter and using its sirens to stalk with activity. They are also doing it while the environment inside of this room is also intentionally designed for monitoring what is ongoing booming, banging on an incessant basis through the walls where there's, and I'm only speaking to the fact that there's no room on the opposite side of the wall to show how ridiculous this is. This is literal stalking with noise, and understand that that is demonic. That's straight out of hell, okay? That's weirdo conduct. That's what the government is doing, okay? Now, a third party doesn't have the capability to climb up the wall like Spider-Man and knock on the opposite side of this mirror, all right? Or that's the state targeting what is the sound of banging and knocking on the opposite side of that wall, okay? The state that is amplifying sound is able to target that sound. All right. So this is what I'm saying when you're looking at the big picture, and I'm speaking to what is the manipulation of the environment, and you are talking about the government. OK, so this is how they monitored, engaging in the same exact conduct while I was kidnapped inside of the facilitating venues of the jails. And so this is how I am also familiar of what are the same exact tactics while I'm at another kind of venue. OK, where it is not bulletproof glass. It is not thick, heavy metal. All right. It is not brick and heavy concrete that is insulating this space. And it is the exact level of amplification, okay? So you have what are two entirely different types of locations in the exact same mode of environment, mode of stalking with noise, the same impossibility of that which is audible and that which is visible with regard to light and the placement of this light all around, all right? The same exact conduct. And so the state is doing nothing but applying a microphone to everything that these psychopaths are creating with knowledge to what I am doing as I am doing it. And I have already stated this. This is just another day. It's currently it's 2:22 a.m. on March 21st. But I want to speak to, just for purposes of what I've uploaded as to video, the visual to my podcast. P.O.C is continuous while I remain at Economy Inn, located at 2301 South Euclid Avenue. This is going toward the people of the state of California acting via Economy Inn, a third party facilitating venue. This venue is used for purposes of monitoring myself, an American citizen. They are engaged in ongoing sexual violence. They're also facilitating that. So understand, Economy Inn is not only engaged in what is monitoring, they're engaged in what is facilitation of monitoring. And that monitoring conduct is inherently sexually violent as well. Corporate invasion of privacy. This is that which is systematically engaged in on these grounds, acting intentionally in concert with the government while I remain here, threatening my life on a continuous basis, threatening my safety on a continuous basis, while every single last one of them whose images you are seeing are engaged in monitoring. They are engaged in corporate invasion of privacy. Everything that they are seen doing, when they are doing it, is informed by what they are listening to me do, because that's all that is going on is monitoring conduct. And this is why it sounds like the room that I am in is right here on Euclid Avenue. That's why it sounds like traffic is right there on the second floor, right outside, where that's how loud the traffic is. That's called amplification of audible activity. This is a hotel. Under ordinary circumstances, no, you are not going to hear traffic 24 hours a day. You are not having every single last vehicle roaring their engine down the street. And not only that, you have what is literally the sound of loud vehicles, which is the sound's not moving anywhere. It's literally, the state is in no way intelligent in what it's doing. It's blatant. Not only is it blatant stalking, as I've shown it, it's also just blatant creation of noise. All right. And that speaks to every single last psychopath in relevant position. That's what they're all doing. Okay. The state is amplifying the activity of those who are fully engaged in that criminal conduct with it. It's called concerted conduct. And this is the significance of every third party that I have specifically documented. The people of the state of California are engaged in this criminal system to date, as I've already said, and just like any other criminal act, not in any way comparing it, this is that of the government, this is that of monitoring an American citizen upon having no probable cause or warrant or right whatsoever. You're monitoring and surveilling, stalking for and serving criminal purpose, and doing it with the very people of the state, sanctioning such criminal conduct by the constituents of that state. Indirect conflict of state and federal constitutions. I mean, this is by the government. I mean, but in addition to that, it's demonic, okay? So there's a whole bunch of issues right there. But what I am speaking to is the fact that, as with every other criminal act, if you rob a bank, you and your partner that are robbing the bank together, every crime that is reasonably foreseeable to occur, they're all liable together, all right? And understand, you're liable for the entirety of that crime. Understand, monitoring is an ongoing criminal act. The state has not stopped, not one bit. The state has engaged in ceaseless monitoring for years. I have become aware of it and started systematically documenting it. The state has been monitoring for years. The people of the state of California are engaged in this criminal system, period. I have been harping on what is my ongoing documentation for a prolonged period of the people of the state of California for my purposes of specifically naming them, because I will go beyond just naming the people of the state as the single group that they are. I intend to go further, not that it in any way lessens what is the prosecution of the state and how to prosecute that entity is to be, I will address that. But what I'm speaking to now is it is also my goal to specifically identify while you are prosecuting those within that group. And that is my aim as well. Those acting individually, those acting under company names and brands that are monitoring American citizens. That's my goal as well. All right. I have more than one goal. And they are, the state is, through the people, have been engaged in this for years. All right. This is not anything that has stopped at any point. It is something that I have become aware of and began documenting. That is it. So as I document since, and let me be clear, I started specifically documenting in 2018, but everywhere that I have lived, everywhere that I have worked, and everything that I can go back and recall, and I have some form of documentation and be clear, everywhere that you work is a form of documentation. Everywhere that you've been is a form of documentation. It's a matter of being aware of the fact that you're being monitored, and prosecution can go back from there. And so I just want to be clear on that as well. There are many places that are that you can go back for years where I was monitored and I did not know. But now that I know that the state is monitoring, you can go back to everywhere that I have been where I was being monitored. And so with regard to that, anyway, the state's engaged in an ongoing criminal system. And inside of this room at Economy N, this is going toward the prosecution as I've identified this specific actor, Economy N, which is a brand, a company where federal group stalking and monitoring, they're using the business of this facility, this venue, for monitoring. All right. That's what you're doing when you've got the housekeeper group stalking, maintaining relevant positions. She is specifically standing in alignment to me on the opposite side of my door while the state is creating all manner of ongoing substantial noise, which I also reported to the front office. Again, something else that I know. I know that they're monitoring, and I know that it is fruitless to bring it up to them, but this is going toward prosecution. Okay. I do that for my own documentary purposes. I reported it to the office at 6 p.m. It is the pattern of conduct to engage in that level of noise. And this is that which is the P.O.C. for monitoring. So while there is directed light and the state's fake sun is over the venue, you've got the housekeeper, which is a means of the business of this venue where they are monitoring. And the state is amplifying, booming through the walls, through the ceiling, through the floor. Okay. And this is for a prolonged period while I'm standing at the vanity and this psychopath is standing on the opposite side of the front door and just chilling, posted, excuse my language. What I mean is remaining for a prolonged period standing. That is stalking, by the way. And that's exactly what I explained in the video. That is what stalking is. Open your eyes and understand what the definition of group stalking is. It is thoroughly defined in the S.I.I.S. Policy, which I have published. Systematic infliction of inhumane suffering. Stalking is that which is done by the group. So you don't have one individual that is maintaining presence, hiding behind bushes, and staying at Economy. And they're all stalking as one group. So the housekeeper leaves. Nobody has left my path. She just left from the front door, which is being in very close quarters and alignment. I remain surrounded by the group stalkers in the room surrounding by the group stalkers. The state is stalking while they're driving past. That's called patrolling on Euclid Avenue. That the state is amplifying that audible activity 24 hours a day. They're patrolling on the 60 freeway. That is constant presence in the path. Those psychopaths are systematically monitoring with communication devices, monitoring on the run. Okay. And this is that which is occurring in the venues around this location where I am at in proximity. The state is those psychopaths in police uniforms and fire trucks and ambulance vehicles are sitting around in relevant position. And I am not exaggerating. I've already demonstrated this from the documentation. Okay. That's exactly what they're doing 24 hours a day. You would think they have something else to do, but where Erica Lorraine Spencer is, what they are concerned with, and by they I mean the people and the government, and this is no overstatement, and I am in no way being hyperbolic. They are solely concerned about me. There is nothing that is going on that is unrelated to the pattern of conduct. Everything that you are looking at, everything that you are observing is engagement in the criminal elements of monitoring. It is ceaseless monitoring, everything. And so this is the ongoing use of noise. And I want to note that that is the engagement of harassment. The pattern of conduct is harassment. So this is built into what the state is doing. Where the state is monitoring you, the state is a sex offender. It's an ongoing sexual offense. The state is engaged in ongoing harassment. It's ongoing harassment. Engaging in those criminal elements is ongoing harassment. All right. And this is no ordinary harassment. This is that which is engaged in by government, acting in concert with the people of the state. All right. Which is also engaged in corporate invasion of privacy. All right. This is sexual violence. The same entity that is always molesting your person, the same entity that is maintaining constructive presence wherever it is that you remain, inside of a hotel room, inside of your own residence, inside of the residence of another third party, while you are at any public place. The state is always stalking in that manner. Okay, all of that I just noted is harassment as well. Okay, so this is speaking to what Economy N is engaged in. Economy N represents the people of the state. Economy N engaged in that same pattern of conduct. Everything that the state engages in while I'm at this venue, Economy N is fully engaged in that. And the housekeeper engaging in that documented aspect moment of P.O.C. is also evidence of that. All right. The venue facilitating P.O.C. The venue facilitating P.O.C. with the patrons, all of whom are third parties. They're all third parties. They are all monitoring with the state. This is the people of the state monitoring at the hotel. That's what it is. And I just want to be clear on that. That's what occurred today. That's what the state is doing 24 hours a day. Substantial noise through the ceiling. That's a psychopath. That's a weirdo. And what the people of the state do, the same thing, sitting around in their cars waiting to slam their car doors, to slam their trunk, which is amplified noise sounding like they're in the room, closing a car door. All right, I documented this September 6, 2020. That was an example. The motorcycle that's outside of the room on the first floor to the what was west of my room, but it is so loud and thunderous. So I go downstairs and I document it. And then you've also got, and that's what I'm saying, that was an ongoing documentation of not only monitoring, but then you engage in assault and battery while you're monitoring. The people of the state of California shall be documented for that. They shall be prosecuted for that. And they are engaging in it at a venue that is facilitating that criminal conduct. That goes towards economy in. So this is that which the people are fully engaged in voluntarily, and this is an ongoing criminal act. And so I have gone the effort of documenting, and I have the benefit of knowledge. And so I can go back years as to where I have been, where I have worked, and my experiences, and they were all monitoring. All right. And so this is relevant to that. And this is just speaking to what economy and how the monitoring is ongoing and the ongoing literal, like, auto documentation, if you want to call it. I'll create a term for that, auto documentation, because my podcasts and my videos and my pictures are not the only method, not the only form of documentation. Presence is that which is readily established and not to remain a mystery whatsoever in the forum of federal court. And who was where and doing what and why, I've already answered those questions. All it is proof of presence. All right. It is currently 2:34 a.m. on March 21st, 2021. And this is just speaking to what is activity creation inside of the room at third-party facilitating venue Economy Inn. The state engaging in ongoing amplification of audible activity while light is maintained, as I've demonstrated, 24 hours a day, stalking with light, literally, and while what are they're sickos, okay? This is demonic activity. Understand that's what demons do, sitting around knocking on walls, making any kind of noise. That's out of hell, all right? Oh, and if you're not familiar with that, you don't have to be. We don't have to have some esoteric conversation about that whatsoever. I'm speaking in context. This is not just criminal conduct. This is disturbed and demented and highly depraved conduct by weirdos, all right? And this is the exposure of that system that is, operated by a government, okay? Just as demented, following somebody around in helicopters and airplanes, creating noises in the ceilings and in the walls. That's weirdo on a whole other level, okay? And this is speaking to punishment. Yes, straitjackets are absolutely necessary. And getting to how that is to be unveiled at prosecution, it shall be my pleasure to dictate that as well. And that is P.O.C.